Good evening, it's 8 o'clock. The top headlines tonight. Has there been an India-China breakthrough? The Chinese military says both sides are disengaging. In a statement by their military, China says there's been a synchronized disengagement of frontline troops. No official statement from India yet, but it is expected tomorrow. The Prime Minister's strong defense of farm laws in the Lok Sabha. He says we can't have 18th century rules in the 21st century. Also says the culture of abusing the private sector is not acceptable. The Congress and TMC and DMK walk out during the Prime Minister's speech. Priyanka in UP says the Prime Minister called farmers Andolan Jeevi or Andolan parasites. Twitter refuses to back down versus the Indian government. In a statement, Twitter says the requests we've been asked for are not consistent with Indian law. The government, meanwhile, hits back on a news site, Coup, saying Twitter has to abide by the law of the land. According to a US forensic firm, evidence was planted in the Bhima Koregaon case on the laptop of an arrested activist, saying incriminating letters which were not written by him were planted on Rona Wilson's laptop. He's currently in jail. Wilson files a petition in the High Court for an inquiry. In Kerala, 192 students of two schools in the district of Malappuram test positive, 90 of them from the same tuition centre. This as Kerala has more than 50% of India's current cases. In battlefield Bengal, it's now Danga Bangla versus appeasement politics. Our lead story tonight, in a story that Vishnu's been tracking now for over a year. Has there been now a withdrawal on both sides, a disengagement in the Ladakh area? Well, China's defense ministry has issued a statement saying that there's been a synchronized disengagement of frontline troops. Vishnu, what are the details?
And that, in fact, is a statement which has not been denied by the Indian Army so far. They haven't issued a statement themselves, but that's because Parliament is on. Typically, they would speak perhaps tomorrow. Now, let's remind our viewers of what we are talking about. All of those areas, Depsang, Galwan, Hot Springs, Gogra, we've spoken about them. There have been talks of disengagement in many of those areas. Then nothing really worked out other than Galwan. But now look at the last two places, Pangong, the North Bank, and Pangong, the South Bank. That is where there is apparently a mutual disengagement. Now, let's move to the next page, remind our viewers of what exactly this was. This is the North Bank of Pangong. These are areas which India believes are our areas. Chinese posts cropped up over the last 1 year, and the Chinese didn't move away at all. So we'll bring you another image of the North Bank of the Pangong Lake. And this is an area which caught our attention several months back, where in a part of the North Bank, the Chinese had written China or Middle Kingdom in Mandarin and superimposed the map of China, which was picked up by satellites, laying claim to their territory. So that's the North Bank where Indian and Chinese soldiers face off, and this is the South Bank where that face-off also takes place. In all of the areas, the blue areas are Indian held posts, the red areas are where the Chinese are presently. And the final image that we have, where you see both the North and the South Bank. So let's change the image to the very last one that we have. That shows the North Bank and the South Bank, lots of areas. These are all very important areas which are controlled, some by India and some by China. So it's in this area where the process of disengagement has in fact started out. It's a coordinated, synchronized one. What is the extent of it? We do not know. The Chinese army spokesperson has said that China and India agreed to disengage. There is a simultaneous disengagement which is starting today on both banks of the Pangong Lake. A consensus was reached at the last round of military talks that was held some time back, a few weeks.
Vishnu, thanks so much for that. So very important development there. Let's hope that it does go through and China doesn't actually backtrack as it has many times in the past. But let's move to our other top headline, the Prime Minister's impassioned defense of the new farm laws in the Lok Sabha today. The Prime Minister said that 18th century laws can't be used to take India to the 21st century. He also said that these laws are essential and farmers can choose whether they actually use their benefits or not. He said it's not about who actually asked for these laws. He said even when it was a case of triple talaq or dowry, it wasn't about people asking for the laws to be changed. these laws were essential. He also attacked the Congress, saying they couldn't even make up their mind about what their stand was in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Importantly, he also said abusing the private sector, like has been done in the past, is not acceptable anymore. The Congress, the Trinamool and the DMK walked out during his speech.
मैं ये तो देख रहा था कि वो इस कानून के कलर पर तो बहुत बहस कर रहे थे। ब्लैक है कि व्हाइट है, ब्लैक है कि व्हाइट है। अच्छा होता उसके कंटेंट पर चर्चा करते, अच्छा होता उसके इंटेंट पे चर्चा करते। जहां तक आंदोलन का सवाल है, दिल्ली के बाहर हमारे जो किसान भाई बहन बैठे हैं, जो भी गलत धारणाएं बनाई गई, जो अफवाहें फैला गई, उसके शिकार हुए हैं। लेकिन मेरा पूरा भाषण बोलने के बाद सब कीजिए, आपको मौका मिला था। आप तो ऐसे शब्द उनके लिए बोल सकते हैं, हम नहीं बोल सकते, हम नहीं बोल सकते हैं। मिस्टर बालू प्लीज प्लीज। नो नो प्लीज आप बैठिए, आपको किसने कहा? किसी कानून का विरोध तो तब मायना रखता है कि जब वो कंपल्सरी हो। ये तो ऑप्शनल है। आपको मर्जी पड़े यहां जाना है जाइए, आपको मर्जी पड़े वहां नहीं जाना है वहां जाइए, जहां ज्यादा फायदा हो वहां किसान चला जाए, ये व्यवस्था की गई है। मैं देख रहा हूं आंदोलन का एक नया तरीका है। क्या तरीका है? आंदोलनकारी जो होते हैं वो ऐसे तरीके नहीं अपनाते, आंदोलन जीवी होते हैं वो ऐसे तरीके अपनाते हैं। और वो कहते हैं ऐसा हुआ तो ऐसा होगा, ऐसा होगा तो ऐसा होगा, ऐसा होगा तो ऐसा होगा। अरे भाई, जो कुछ हुआ ही नहीं, जो होना नहीं है, उसका भय पैदा कर करके, और पिछले कई सालों से लगातार सुप्रीम कोर्ट का एक जजमेंट आ जाए, कोई निर्णय नहीं हुआ है और एकदम से तूफान खड़ा कर दिया जाए, आग लगा दी जाए देश में। मैं हैरान हूं, पहली बार एक नया तर्क आया इस सदन में कि भाई हमने मांगा नहीं था तो दिया क्यों? हमने मांगा नहीं तो दिया क्यों? पहली बात है कि लेना न लेना आपकी मर्जी है, किसी ने किसी के गले मड़ा नहीं है, ऑप्शनल है, एक व्यवस्था है और देश बहुत बड़ा है। हिंदुस्तान के कुछ कोनों में इसका लाभ होगा, हो सकता है किसी एक आध कोने में न भी हो, लेकिन ये कंपल्सरी नहीं है। माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, ट्रिपल तलाक, इसके खिलाफ कानून बने, ये किसी ने मांग नहीं की थी, लेकिन प्रगतिशील समाज के लिए आवश्यक है, इसलिए कानून हमने बनाया है। हम ऐसी कंफ्यूज पार्टी, ये देश की भलाई के लिए बहुत आवश्यक है, मिल बैठ करके उसको हमने सोचना चाहिए। सभी दल चाहे सत्ता में हो या विपक्ष में, ये हम सबका दायित्व है और हमें 21वीं सदी में 18वीं शताब्दी की सोच से हमारे एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर को हम उसकी चुनौतियों को पूरा नहीं कर सकते हैं, उसी को हमने बदलना होगा।
The Prime Minister also requesting farmers once again from Parliament to join discussions. Meanwhile, Congress General Secretary Priyanka Gandhi Vadra was in Saharanpur in Western Uttar Pradesh, where the Congress had called a Kisan Mahapanchayat. She also visited both a temple and dargah. She attacked the Prime Minister for not visiting farmers at Delhi's borders and also said that he had called farmers Andolan Jeevis, parasites.
15,000 करोड़ का आपका बकाया आपको नहीं मिला, लेकिन नरेंद्र मोदी जी के दो हवाई जहाज 16,000 करोड़ रुपए में खरीदे गए हैं सरकार से। आप सोच सकते हैं कि इनकी जबान में कितना वजन है। इन्होंने आपको कहा था आपका बकाया मिलेगा, क्या किया इन्होंने? अपने लिए 2 हवाई जहाज खरीदे जिससे दुनिया भर में घूम सकते हैं। क्या किया इन्होंने? दिल्ली में संसद भवन की सुंदरीकरण के लिए 20,000 करोड़ रुपए सरकार के रखे। प्रधानमंत्री ने खुद संसद में किसानों का अपमान किया। क्या कहा उन्होंने? हंसे। किसानों को आंदोलन जीवी कहा।
The other big headline, well, Twitter has refused to back down versus the Indian government. In a statement today, Twitter said that the actions they've been asked to take on accounts that consist of news media, entities, journalists, activists and politicians, if they take that action, they believe it would violate their fundamental right to free expression under Indian law. Indian government sources have said that Twitter has no choice but to comply with the law of the land.
It's a full-blown war between big tech Twitter and the government of India. The fresh flare-up started when the government wanted Twitter to first block over 250 Twitter handles and then give them a list of over 1100 more handles to be removed. Amid the stern warnings for not abiding by Indian law, Twitter has decided to challenge the government by not blocking the accounts of journalists and activists, calling it inconsistent with Indian law. In a blog, Twitter said they have not taken any action on accounts that consist of news media entities, journalists, activists and politicians, taking steps to reduce the visibility of hashtags containing harmful content, prohibiting handles from trending hashtags on Twitter, preventing accounts from appearing in search engines, permanent suspension in certain cases of over 500 accounts, and withholding accounts in the blocking orders of the government. In response, interestingly, on Twitter's Indian rival, the Coup app, the Ministry of Electronics and IT said that Twitter had sought a meeting but put out a blog prior to the meeting and that this was unusual.
Sources say that the government has told Twitter India that in order to keep its operations functional, they have to abide by the law of land, and if they wish to contest, then they are free to approach court of redressal, an option Twitter has not considered so far. With Neeta Sharma, Rubina Mungia for NDTV.
Moving to our special focus, the devastation that remains after the Uttarakhand disaster on Sunday. Rescue operations still continue. In fact, alternate routes are now being looked at to try and rescue the men trapped within the tunnel. There are now over 35, we know there are over 35 people trapped there, but so far there's no news of them. Also, new satellite images show the scale of the devastation. Akshay Dongre reports.
These visuals of the Tapovan Hydel project tell a tale of the large-scale devastation caused by the glacial burst in the region. Over 3 days later, rescue teams are still trying to clear the tunnel where 37 workers are trapped.
जो रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन है उसमें बड़ी प्रोग्रेस नहीं है. उसमें इतना है कि अभी जब जो मलबा खोद रहे हैं तो उसमें बड़े बोल्डर भी अब दिखने लगे हैं. तो हो सकता है हमें सफलता मिले जल्दी, हम यही मान रहे हैं.
Alternative routes to rescue these men are also being explored, and contact being established with 13 villages that were completely cut off after the Rainy Bridge was swept away.
रिलीफ तो ऑपरेशन बहुत इजी है. जो 13 गांव से संपर्क कट गया था पुल का, उसको कल हमने जिप लाइन से तो जोड़ ही दिया. उसका फायदा यह है कि वहाँ आदमी भी आराम से आ जा पा रहे हैं पार. आईटीबीपी के भी राहत कैंप जो है एस्टेब्लिश हो गए हैं.
अभी जो स्थिति चल रही है कि थोड़ा काम स्लो हो गया परसों से, क्योंकि जो उसके अंदर जो मक भरा है वो बहुत लिक्विड ही है, तो वो लगातार निकलता जा रहा है. शायद वो पहले कंप्रेस हो गया था, इसलिए बहुत ज्यादा तेजी से हम अंदर नहीं पहुंच पा रहे हैं.
ऋषि गंगा पावर प्रोजेक्ट, Hydel power project is absolutely in shambles. The bridges that were there, strategically very important, they are also in shambles. So the Border Road Organization is working there to assess the loss of infrastructure that has happened, also to try and find the bodies of those who got washed away. Here we are right now at the opening of this particular tunnel, which was of NTPC Hydel project, and inside a lot of sludge, a lot of debris was deposited after that flash flood came in this entire area, and that is being cleared. With camera person Ashwini Mehra, I'm Akshay Dongre, NDTV.
Moving to other news, well, as India's numbers continue to come down, Kerala remains a source of worry. And Sneha joins us now because the latest worry, of course, is that in Malappuram, there's been an outbreak among students of class 10 and 2 schools. Sneha, what are the details?
Well, in fact, Sonia, if you talk just about today, around 1,000 students, according to the district education officer, have been tested. These are class 12 students of the 2 schools, where 192 class 10 students had tested positive last week. So these are all RT-PCR tests. The results are awaited. Now, out of these 192 class 10 students who were tested positive, 90 of them were attending the same tuition center. Health officials have been saying, collector has been saying it's too early or premature to say that the tuition center was a super spreader or what could be the source of infection in this particular case. That is still being traced with testing and contact tracing. But even the remaining students of this particular tuition center, all of them are to be tested. All of them are in home isolation. Some of them even in schools which are not particularly these two schools which have been closed.
Right.
So, but all of them are in home isolation. The testing was supposed to happen today, now has been postponed to Friday. Extensive testing, crucial in Malappuram, and that is underway.
Right, and of course it's interesting, Sneha, because as you'd said that it's only 1 or 2 students who tested, who first showed symptoms, the rest are mainly asymptomatic. So as schools open across India, interesting signs or lessons to watch out for from Malappuram. Moving to the state elections, and it's fully battlefield Bengal. Mamata Banerjee addressing a number of rallies every day. So is JP Nadda, the BJP president, as Home Minister Amit Shah will also be in West Bengal tomorrow. So Mamata Banerjee focusing on what she calls the riot politics of the BJP. JP Nadda hitting back, saying the appeasement politics of Mamata Banerjee is to blame for the poor state of Bengal.
আসলে কি জানেন তো বিজেপির আমার উপরে খুব রাগ ওরা চায় যেন তেন প্রকরণে ওকে সরিয়ে দাও রথযাত্রায় কে থাকবে জগন্নাথ দেব থাকবে বলরাম থাকবে সুভদ্রা থাকবে বিজেপির নেতারা কেন থাকবে তারা কি জগন্নাথ দেবেরও থেকে বড় তারা কি বলরাম থেকেও বড় তারা কি সুভদ্রা থেকেও বড় তাহলে কি বিজেপি নেতাদের আমাদের এখন পুজো করতে হবে বাংলা তো সোনার বাংলা তোমাদের সোনার বাংলা তৈরি করার দরকার নেই তোমরা তো দাঙ্গা বাংলার কথা চিন্তা করো আর আমাদের বাংলা সোনার বাংলা এ মাটি সোনার মাটি
एक तरफ मोदी जी हैं जो बंगाल के विकास के लिए कृत संकल्प है अन्याय किया है तो ममता जी ने किया है इस बात को हमको समझना चाहिए मुझे याद है बंगाल में आने के समय कहा गया था कि मैं मां माटी मानुष इसकी रक्षा होगी मित्रों मां का सम्मान नहीं हुआ माटी की रक्षा नहीं हुई और मनुष्य के बारे में कभी चिंता नहीं हुई ये इनका ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड है 10 साल का क्या किया इन्होंने तानाशाही टोलाबाजी और तुष्टीकरण